Welcome back to the Prince of Persia reboot. So, believe it or not, we're about to get to the halfway point of the game. In fact, part-wise, we actually surpassed it. Like I said, it's if you know what you're doing, it's not a super long game. It's time to finish off the Alchemist for good.
You know, I just realized something. With the way that the characters have black outlines across them and all around them, whereas
Almost Telltale-esque.
I was gonna say it reminds you a bit of Okami, but yeah, that too.
Okami is much more eradicated in his cell shade.
Okami is full-blown cell shaded, not like a Wind Waker or a Level 5 game.
I don't even know what engine Platinum Clover Studios they were back then. Don't even know what engine Clover Studios used for.
That's sort of my
remember too.
I'll check in the meantime.
That's sort of my point, though. It's like, well, I mean, it's just the two of them that look like that style, whereas the rest of the style doesn't mesh.
If you played only the remastered edition for PS3 and PS4, you wouldn't know, but for the original PS2 and Wii, subsequently released, it was a straight for the console, therefore they had to use a lot of motion blur and some fog-like effect here and there, similar to Twilight Princess. But thanks to the remaster releases, they managed to ease up with this big time.
I think, well, remember, Jova, Platinum also made the Legend of Korra game and the Transformers Devastation game, and those were very well cell shaded. So it can't. So Platinum does know how to do cell shaded stuff.
Again. And I'm mainly just bringing up the fact that it feels weird. Like, it feels like the characters are cell shaded, but nothing else is, and it just feels jarring.
It's like we've said, the art director, like I've said actually, the art director doesn't seem like he can make up his mind on how he wants the game to look like.
I mean, again, I hate to come back to this issue so many times. It's just, it's something we have to constantly look at, and
I agree. What are the primary reasons, Jova, why it's so easy to get back to this? This game has probably the most confusing art direction I've ever seen, because even when, let's take, for example, the generic shooter that looks brown and boring. Say what you want about that aesthetic, at least it's the Terminator Salvation game that Tail recorded, for example. That game, despite looking boring, as a consistent art director, it knows exactly what aesthetic it's going for. The generic FPS boring action game aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's boring, yes, but at the very least it's consistent. This game, I have no idea what the hell the thought process was with this art style. The art director, I would love to see an interview from the art director on what exactly was the direction and overall idea behind the way the game looks, because what was even the thought process for this?
You know, I gotta ask honestly, context-wise. So we always see Elika just reach with her hand and pull him, but in places like this, she's literally on top of him. Like, how is she suddenly able to pull him? Like, does this imply that she could fly? Because if she can fly, why doesn't she just fly us ahead to the end of the stage?
Emergency teleport.
So, okay, I guess she can only...
It's like
I guess she can conveniently only teleport to places she's been before. I mean, again, normally I wouldn't harp on stuff like this. You know, normally I'd go gameplay story segregation, even though that's already a bit of a lame excuse. But no, this game kind of doesn't even earn that.
Going back to the whole easy combat thing.
Yeah.
Since you've now actually played the game yourself, even and everything, considering how there were genuine complaints before they patched in harder difficulties, like why would you say would you say that similar to this game?
How did you die there? You were still on it.
I went too much on the left and was going overboard.
That's bad detection on the game's part. Never liked this section.
Go on, Pedro.
Since Ni no Kuni 2's normal, aka the easiest mode before they patched in harder difficulties by popular demand, would you say that the lack of challenge in that difficulty mode is in any way similar to the problems that left difficulty with this game.
No, I'm not sure I can compare because they're two completely different genres. An RPG difficulty is completely different from a platformer one.
I can
For
compare.
multitude of reasons, mind you. Mainly, first of all, does the platformer have an upgrade system? Because that would be closer to having RPG elements, and therefore
Sure.
having the one element
Well,
that
I was talking
RPGs
about the combat, though.
allow, in a sense, if you don't get to through a situation level grinding. And for
Sure.
this case, I'm not sure if I can give one properly, considering how the upgrade system is more. How can I say this? More not scripted, but more linear, without a proper say choose. Well, while you can choose the difference in abilities in the order when you can acquire them, they're very situational. It's not like a Super Mario power up that you can get, where you can try and then making things easier for you for a situation that you wouldn't normally, try it. But anyway, let me explain this quickly. Basically, one more trick added to the pile. Now, toxic spores. Basically, they're sort of a poison status. For these parts of the game, they're not really a problem. Only in later parts they become. If you stay too much in an area that's contaminated with them, i.e. take you too much your time in climbing a section, it counts as if you failed. Therefore, you will be teleported again to the closest surface as a result.
Mm-hmm.
It's just my mild annoyance. But anyway, let me give a comparison, but let me continue. So overall, I'm not sure if I can give a comparison through that. The closest things that I can compare Ni no Kuni 2 would be other similar Namco Bandai projects, like Eternal Sonata, Dark Souls, and the Tales of games. Compared to those, yes, I would say that it's slightly easier. But considering the difficulty choice, that can be mitigated, and you can also self-impose yourself challenges, similar to people who play Final Fantasy for example, the No Spirit
White
Grid,
mages.
or the 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3 that the original release of Final Fantasy 12 had. But no, this game instead, I guess the best comparison would be to Wario Land, because platformers with not many, not upgrade system that make you ease up, but instead the power-ups are situational to what the level requires. But
Sure.
the entire structure of Wario Land was built around the fact that you need to collect coins and the collectibles in the game. Therefore, you needed to get as much as you can and avoid damage, because you would have been punished as a result. In this game, not really. The collectibles are kind of a joke to get, and they're scattered all over the place. And the challenge is, like I said, non-existent. So no, this honestly is one of the worst examples that I've seen as an easy game that I've been seeing through.
As for me, I actually can compare this to Ni no Kuni strictly on the sense of difficulty, in the sense that Ni no Kuni actually does punish you for losing, as in you get a game over. This game does
That
not
too.
have that. Like, that's the thing, it's like, that's the thing, when comparing this to other games,
Does it
it's...
13 in a sense that it teleports you back before the battle, so that it's generous in that kind of way?
Yeah.
Well,
Also,
there's a penalty there at least.
Yeah, like Jova said.
here's what I don't get
Yeah,
about...
in Final Fantasy 14, if you lose anything there, at worst you'll just get bumped back to.
You lose Gil, Lives. I know, I
and
noticed that
lose
myself.
skill, yeah.
So at least there is actually a decent kind of penalty, especially considering that farming Gil in 14 is not super easy. It's not, mind you, it's not hard to either, or intentionally made up so that developers can screw up with you and force you to buy microtransactions. Not at all. Honestly, you can easily get all you want just by playing the main quest. It's similar to Generation 1 Pokemon, basically. You just need to be careful with how do you manage your buying, and to try not to die too much.
Maybe it's because we talked over it, but okay, there's poisonous air in the way.
We removed it because we managed to clear the room.
Okay,
Basically, what we needed to do, if you didn't got that, was to reach the parts of the ceiling and activate specific levers here and there, so we can raise the platform to the fertile ground.
Now here's the weird thing though. They say that there's poisonous air, yet we see those particles everywhere. It's hard to tell what exactly they deem to be the poisonous air. Like, by that logic, shouldn't the whole room have been poisonous to him?
No, because remember, it kind of is inhaling, because it's like the corruption in a snowflake like status. Therefore, the higher up you go, the more rare it is. Therefore, it's not breathable in that kind of sense.
Huh.
It's similar to volcanic ashes in that kind of sense.
Alright then. Wish the game itself had explained that better, but alright then.
They did it in the dialogue that we just talked over.
Okay then, so yeah.
Basically, it's another one of the invention of the Alchemist, as we said.
Ooh,
Anyway,
wow.
there's the fertile ground. No shit.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Make things easier. Conform to my low expectations.
Even though you've beaten me 3 times,
Sorry,
submit
the
to me
party's not
now.
gonna happen.
Yeah, so the expectations are that low.
Dude, we've beaten you 3 times, so your low expectations were that we beat you?
He looks like
There we go. Yes, Pedro?
he looks like
Wait, sorry, what?
or is it Lich? Did you say? You know,
The leech.
Lich. Yeah, it looked a bit like
Kinda. It has a bit of necromancer attitude to him.
I love how this guy talks a big game, yet can easily get defeated by just
holy
getting
crap!
pushed
You
off.
can create flowers with a pure thought.
Again,
Amazing.
it's very similar to the process of rejuvenation in Okami.
And part of me
And
is
my
beginning
first
to
step shall be
wonder.
flowers.
Part of me is really beginning to wonder if they were thinking Okami. Wait, was Okami a game at this point?
Yes, it
Yes,
was
it came out in 2006.
Okay.
late PS2 era. Yeah.
Really beginning to wonder if maybe they had Okami on the brand with this game. Like, that's the thing with this game. It kind of falls into that stigma of it reminds you of all these other games. Kind of loses its identity.
Yeah.
That's like I said, Jova. The only thing that makes it stand out with respect to others is the heavy lore, Zoroastrianism inspired lore, which mind you is actually very unique in how it's represented here.
And even
Probably
with
means
that lore, you
it's
can
not
miss it.
enough to save it.
And again, it doesn't help that a lot of that lore is told, not shown.
Yeah.
Like, you know, in
If you
Sonic
actually not study, if you actually have read even a bit about Zoroastrians, you will know that it's a very weird religion. Not as much as they say the Slavic mythos, but it's weird. Lots of demons. There we go.
It's time to go to the final area of this warrior.
Or the alchemy.
It's more so, Joba, that the fact that most of the quote-unquote story so far, most of it, not all of it, because we have had more elaborate cutscenes, especially when the father was involved. But most of the cutscenes in this game, at least so far, are literally just these two characters talking to each other, and nothing else. Like,
Yeah,
nothing
that's-
else is happening.
That's pretty much this game, unfortunately.
Okay.
Like, you don't get to see other, aside from the father and obviously the generals, you don't get to see like other NPCs or visit a town or something. You're confined in this area, like, much like Shadow of the Colossus.
Well, the thing is, in the previous Prince of Persia games, you were also basically just going through environment. The thing is, there was more stuff happening in the earlier games. This one just seems like we're just kind of moving along and rolling with whatever happens,
flow.
but nothing really happens. It's just the characters doing gameplay shit, and we stop for 10 seconds to have a conversation. And then we
which,
go back.
mind you, it can be even optional. I can potentially not even bother with talking about it.
Again, for as bad as it was, it never felt this basic when we were playing even Warrior Within from the,
Honestly,
the
I think
Sam's
a
trilogy.
great comparison with what we have seen so far from E3 would be the footage we've seen of the 7 remake. if you have like 40 minutes or something to watch, go and check Maximilian's recap of the demos that they showed to him and made him try. It's like both him and a bunch of other people, including easy allies. So probably even them have some. Describe the entire way down to the reactor with Barrett and Cloud is just almost non-stop talking within each other and so full of characters. Pretty much like.
Well, that's kind of how it was in the original, in a way.
Well,
so.
Well,
like
okay, to be fair, in the original, it was
that's
more
the
like
point.
at set points, but even still, though, you know, it being an RPG, it made sense.
What I'm saying is that it's kind of what this game should be, having more banter that is more organic and feel like two actual people talking. Because I gotta say, I know that it's partially BS from me with the delivery the North is giving, but most of his line between Elika and the Prince are very static.
And they're only given at fixed points, too. Like, again, the original Sans trilogy, whenever you had, like, you know, some sort of AI partner in those, they would have banter being given while you were, you know, moving around here and there. You know, I mean, and it did help give some character to it. Like, say what you will about the likes of Farah, but, you know, at least she was a good conversationalist, and, hey, even that Jin from Forgotten Sands.
Yeah, the Marid.
Yeah.
Now, for the final showdown of the Alchemist, it's all about resisting all these chain attacks, basically, because he will keep alternating between some of these grab-like maneuvers. But you need to just resist with the QTs and then strike him when he puts up the barriers, because otherwise he will keep regenerating his health. And unfortunately, where the bottomless speeds cannot help you.
Yeah.
The cool thing about this is that some parts of the arena now tend to rise up or fall down depending on the situation, which gives a bit of unpredictability to the fight, which is a thing I actually kind of like. Like the entire fight transforms as it goes on, so it gives a bit of, you know, more edge to it. If it wasn't for the lack of challenge, it would be, you know, probably one of the best fights in the entire game.
Not a fan of him regenerating his health.
No. Yeah, that's the idea.
Thanks, Elika. Wouldn't have imagined that without your help.
Why is this chick even with us?
Well, she's there to save us whenever
The
we
one that needs
die.
to regenerate the Velcro grounds.
And hey, Paige, look at
Technically
this.
speaking, she's supposed to be the protagonist, while the prince is just, you know, the hand, the strong hand.
Don't you just love how the princess made a secondary character in his own fucking franchise?
It's not too dissimilar, though, to Link in some of the Zelda games, though.
Well, here's
true,
the thing, though.
and guess what, Teo? I don't like it that much there either.
I mean, you know, look, I give more leeway to Legend of Zelda since, you know, they still acknowledge that Link is still the hero. Even if he does heal secondary, he still is given his proper roles and dues here. Here, though, the prince isn't even, well, as far as we know, the prince may not even be a prince. He's just some guy who happens to stumble around, and he's not even really, you know, the actual main focus. It's kind of jarring. Now, again, I compare this to something like Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, which is a good example of how you have a playable character who's technically not the main character, whereas in reality, the main character of that game is Miles Edgeworth. But you're playing as Phoenix Wright. What helps is that Phoenix Wright is one of the keen examples of how you write a shoes-in character to the point where he does still feel like a main character. So it doesn't feel like, you know, you're just along for the ride. But
One thing that I really... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, well, Phoenix feels very relatable. Whereas the Prince here, he's a Casanova who can do a lot of cool moves that you could probably only do if you really study them big time here and there. I joke about Phoenix having special powers and everything, but for the most part, his stories are down to earth here and there. Not so much with the Prince here.
I like, although to be fair, I'll have to give credit that more recent Zelda games have actually done a good job in, you know, trying to avoid that thing, because Link Between Worlds, for the most part avoided that. And
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword was literally just Link. I mean, going through the journey, and that's it. He didn't have any companion characters for once, so that was a nice
But
refresher.
Peter, what about Fee?
Well, okay, Fee, but there's the thing. Fee, for the most part, is just there for tutorial stuff.
That's the
She's
joke.
not up.
She
She's
barely
not
feels
upstage.
like a companion character.
To her credit, she doesn't upstage Link at least, so there's that. Don't get me wrong, I love Midna, she's a great character, but I kind of wish Link would be a bit more active in the plot.
That's the thing with Twilight Princess. Despite me liking it, there's the fact that Midna's and Link presence create not a conflict between each other, but in a sense of the plot on the long run, because as soon as Midna's stuff is resolved and you think it's a climax, sudden Ganondorf, because, you know, we need to satisfy the people who wanted that fight shown at E3.
To be fair, it was a pretty awesome fight.
Yes, the one where the mighty Lord of Darkness, Giovanni, can be distracted by a fishing rod.
Yeah, well, that's kind of a running gag too. It's a tradition.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, hold on. This isn't
Stay away from
Yeah,
the
basically
edge,
we reached
edge.
again the last. The Alchemist cannot run anymore, so it ends here.
I don't know
And-
why
and
he
if I-
can't run anymore,
If I'm
but
going to, and to give credit, just so nobody tries to say that I never say anything good about Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild completely commits to a lonely journey with Link, with no companions whatsoever.
oh, by the way, am I the one who noticed that they went a bit Super Mario Galaxy earlier with some of those globe-shaped parts?
Didn't
Yeah,
this
that's
game
gonna
come
be
out?
2008.
It came out a year after Mario Galaxy.
I mean,
There we
Mario
go.
Galaxy
That's the
was
end of
kind
the
of a hot
Alchemist
thing
stuff.
at the time. Oh, and how about that? We defeat him yet again by throwing him off the
Teo, was that supposed to happen?
I am so tired of glitches in Prince of Persia games.
God dang it,
Oh, so it
Ubisoft.
wasn't supposed to happen.
That's the thing. Technically, here's the thing. I wasn't supposed to push him off the platform because thanks to the slide, the corruption up there, it should be technically trigger me. But somehow it managed to do, so it triggered that it wasn't supposed to happen, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, Jover, honestly, the glitches in these games happen so often. I'm struggling to believe whether it was Ubisoft the publisher or if it's the developers just
told you to stay away from the edge.
just
I
generally not
mean-
knowing what QA is.
Maybe, but you won't.
I mean, at least you didn't have to do it.
Thank you, Quinn.
You told him. Yeah, how's
You know, I
that
should
for
probably
a
make a
time?
highlight, a compilation of all the glitches that I found so far.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Your Highness, I got a hand from.
Oh shit!
So, yeah.
Remember, General
God
defeated-
is not pleased that you didn't answer the phone. So die.
Hey, Elika, how about you teleport us, since you clearly have teleportation powers?
Let's get down from here.
Huh.
What were the chances of that?
1 in a
How did we hit
million.
that platform? How did we get out of there alive? Don't say it was Ormazd.
I was gonna say I got lucky.
You got lucky. Hey, Princess, I'm the one that brings you luck. I'm the lucky one.
You lost a donkey's worth of gold, fell into a celestial war, and you still want to call yourself lucky?
I'm still alive. And what about the Alchemist? Did we kill him?
Can You see anyone surviving that?
Well, if we throw the lock on Arm, then none of them are escaping. Let's put the Dark God back in jail. How do we get out of here?
Through that portcullis. That switch should raise it.
Well, let's pull that switch and get out of here. If that's science, you can keep it. Your turn. Tell me something about you.
Tell you what.
Oh, I don't know. How about, who was your last boyfriend?
Never had one.
Never?
Never.